Hello and welcome to our football podcast. This is our first video on this channel called FootyPod. So if you like the podcast, please like and subscribe.
So our first section that we're going to be talking about is the Premier League. Vihan, do you have any thoughts on the Premier League table at the moment? It's looking quite spicy at the top.
I'm not sure about that. I think Man City, they're running away with the title kind of. And I think Man United, even though they beat Man City 2-0 at the weekend, I still don't think that Man United could lower the gap at the top. But because I just think Man City are quite relentless this season. Go on, Alex.
So I'm just looking at the table now, and so Man City, I think they basically won the league. I mean, they're 11 points ahead. But the battle for second, Manchester United and Leicester City, 1 point apart. Manchester United definitely winning on goal difference here, but I can definitely see Leicester making a comeback. There's going to be a big fight for fourth place. I mean, Chelsea, West Ham, Everton, Liverpool, and Spurs competing for that. Liverpool 7 points behind Chelsea at the moment, which could be a big obstacle for them to overcome.
Yes, Harry.
I think we should take a minute to look at West Ham. They have a game in hand and are 2 points behind Chelsea, who are fourth. I mean, if they win their next game, West Ham put themselves back in a Champions League place, which is mental. Did we ever see this happening?
Definitely not. I mean, Jesse Lingard's been their saviour so far this season. As soon as he arrived from loan from Manchester United, he has got unbelievable statistics.
I think if Chelsea were to lose, which I don't think they are gonna do any soon enough, recently. So I think that West Ham can finish in a European spot, but I don't think they can. They don't have that extra quality to just guide them into the Champions League.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think if you look at their squad, they just aren't. I don't think they have the squad depth, and their squad just isn't good enough yet. I think maybe next year they could genuinely, if they play as well as they have this season, they could get maybe top 5, top 6, and even this season maybe. But I think the problem is that they haven't really got a good enough squad at the moment, I don't think, and I think they'll probably end up dropping down to maybe 6th. I can't see 7th. I think 6th that is where West Ham will finish. I mean, considering they didn't bring many people in this season, like buy many people, they've done an amazing job. So, I mean, fair play to David Moyes.
So one thing that I've noticed about the league, I think one of the reasons Man City are being on this brilliant unbeaten streak, I do think it is because they have such brilliant players, but I also think it's because of their squad depth. I mean, if you look at their squad, they've got so many good players. Like Nathan Ake's barely played this season. They bought him for like £40 million in the summer. And I do think that makes a big difference when you look at teams like Manchester United and Leicester City, who don't have as much squad depth. And you can't really compete for the title like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, their squad depth is mad. If you look, they have so many centre backs. They've got John Stones, they've got Ruben Diaz, Laporte, Ake, and they've got some youngsters as well who don't play much. They've also got a very good amount of fullbacks. They got only really one goalkeeper. They got so many midfielders, and they've even got Sergio Aguero, who barely ever plays anymore.
I think that the squad depth. I think they have too many players at the moment. I think that that could prove that could prove itself as a disadvantage, because if Man City don't give their centre backs an opportunity, then they would ask to leave, and Nathan Ake, who's come in for such a big price tag, he'll be considered a huge flop.
Okay, I think it's time that we move on to Ligue 1 now. If you look at the top of Ligue 1, it's getting really hot there. Lille and PSG currently the main contenders for the title. But Lyon not far behind in third with 59 points, only 3 points off top spot. This is really getting close in the league. Does anyone else have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're all used to the Liga just being PSG on like 80 points and then everyone else just on like 60. But I mean, this season, who's top of the league? Did you say?
Lille are currently top of the league.
Lille. I mean, where have they come from? I mean, I'm not saying they're bad, but how are they top of the league? I mean, fair enough, but I think PSG will just pull it back, and I think they'll start picking up a good run of form and just destroy the league towards the end, I reckon.
I mean, PSG Liga is currently commonly described as a farmers' league, and if you don't win it with Neymar and PSG up top, who are like both worth well more than £200 million, and there's got to be something wrong. Maybe with the manager or the defence, I don't really know, but there's going to be something wrong if you're not winning the league with two players who are both valued at over £200 million. If we go down to the bottom of Liga, we've got Dijon and Nantes. To be honest, no one really cares about the bottom of Liga. It's just this little bit at the bottom where all the rubbish clubs compete. No offence to anyone, but Dijon only have 15 points out of 28 games, so that's pretty poor. Bihan, do you have anything to say about that?
I think, but I mean, for like true Liga fans, they are like the only ones that care about the relegation, and the clubs that are getting relegated, they are the fans that care about the relegation. But mostly, I think the top teams in Liga are like of course they're at the top, but like the quality is only in the top 3, top 5, top 6, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, if you look at the clubs, most of them just are not. You've barely even heard of them. I mean, Dijon. I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not exactly. Just that league is so kind of one-sided. But I do have a prediction. Dijon are going to get in I believe it's the relegation playoffs, and they're going to win the relegation playoffs and stay up. That's my prediction.
So let's move on to the Bundesliga segment of our podcast now. Daniel, you're in charge of the Bundesliga. I'll let you take it on from here.
Yeah, so I mean, this season the Bundesliga is actually a good league to watch. I mean, there's some good football going on. I watch the highlights every week, and I mean, I don't know who's going to win. I mean, Bayern at the moment are 2 points ahead of Leipzig, but I mean, I think it's going to be between those two because Wolfsburg in third only have 45 points. They're 10 points behind Bayern, so I just can't see them catching up. But Leipzig are in amazing form. They've won 5 from 5. So, I mean, I think between those two, it's just whoever can keep up the consistency and eventually win, I think. I mean, the top 4 really could be, I'd say, anyone out of first to 7th. Because there's Bayern Munich and Leipzig who are going to get top 4. And then there's Wolfsburg, Eintracht Frankfurt, Bayer Leverkusen, Borussia Dortmund, and surprisingly Union Berlin, who are actually only 8 points behind Eintracht Frankfurt in 4th. So it's all to play for, I think, there. Yeah, Harry?
I'd like to mention Schalke, who are dead last with 10 points from how many games? From 24 games. That is worse than Sheffield United at the moment. And not to mention, Schalke, I think 2 seasons ago, were in the Champions League. Yes, they lost 10-0 in aggregate to Man City, but a Champions League team all the way down there in one of the biggest leagues in the world. That's hugely surprising. Alex?
I think another disappointment this season in the Bundesliga is definitely Borussia Dortmund. I mean, last season they were challenging Bayern for the title. I mean, they weren't predicted to win it, but they were at least challenging. This season they've got Haaland and Sancho in their squad, and they really should be doing better than 6th place. They're currently 16 points behind Bayern in top spot. I do think that they should be doing better. Bihan?
I have a question for you guys. So, because the Bundesliga table is so tight, and Dortmund they've not been at the best of their form, but do you think Dortmund can get top 4 with the challenge from other teams? Go on, Daniel.
I actually don't think they will. I think they'll get Europa League this season. I mean, they should get Champions League. They should easily get Champions League. I mean, if you look at their squad, how are Wolfsburg above them? I mean, Union Berlin are 4 points behind them. How has that happened? But as good as they are, I just can't see them making that gap up. I've been watching them and they've been like really bad. Defensively, they just cannot defend. Yeah.
Okay, I think we should end our Bundesliga section there. Now we're going to move on to La Liga, and I believe it's Harry.
Yeah, so in La Liga, the title race is looking actually really, really good at the moment. So it's between Barca and Real Madrid. Oh, no, hold on a minute, that's the wrong tape, sorry. Between Atletico, Barca and Real Madrid. Actually, Sevilla are catching up a little bit as well. If you look, Atletico Madrid are on 59, and there are only 5 points between the top 3. Considering Atletico have a game in hand, they might have a chance of extending that lead at the top, but their form is not the greatest. So, I think the title race is quite open. What do you think, Vihan?
This is not necessarily about the title race, but the Barcelona, they picked up a lot of form since Ronald Koeman took over. I mean, not necessarily at the start, but now in the middle parts of the season, they've picked up a lot of form. So, could there be? This is about the Champions League. So, against PSG, could there be a remontada yet again? Go on, Daniel.
No, that PSG are just going to smash them, I reckon. But, I mean, like we said about Barcelona, I think they were 8th at one point, like really, really doing badly. And I looked at the La Liga table the other day. I saw they were 2nd. I was like, what has happened there? I mean, either all the other teams have been really bad, or they've just been amazing. But either way, I mean, fair enough to Ronald Koeman. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Alex?
So regarding the Barcelona versus PSG second leg, I can't see Barcelona pulling it back. I mean, I watched the first leg and PSG were absolutely dominating. And with the potential absence of Gerard Piqué this time, I know it's not confirmed that he'll definitely be out. He might recover in time, but I'm not really sure. If you look at the relegation zone in La Liga, you can see Eibar, Alaves and Huesca. It will be interesting to see who will come up, because it will be nice to have some new teams in La Liga. It seems that these same teams keep going down and up every season, and it can get a bit repetitive. Harry?
It's also quite interesting because even last place are only 4 points from safety, and in other leagues this season, it's quite far. The bottom is quite far from everywhere else. So this is a really, again, like the top, very open relegation battle.
Move on to our Serie A segment now, which I believe is Vihan.
All right. Okay. So, Serie A, there was a battle for the top spot. It's died down a little bit as Inter Milan have closed the gap. I mean, as AC Milan are struggling to close the gap at the top against Inter. But I had a question about Juventus. But so do you think under Andrea Pirlo, who this is his first job in management, do you think that in a like 5-10 years time, can he lead Juventus to the title? Go on, Alex.
I think maybe next year, if he leaves them to the title, he's a club legend, so I think they'll be reluctant to sack him. But I think if he doesn't win the title this season or next season, then they're going to sack him. But I can't see him staying on. If he does win the title next season, there's a chance that he'll go on a winning streak, but I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure about his tactical setup either. Harry?
I just want to look at Napoli. They're kind of, at the moment, like the Arsenal of Italy. because they have so many quality players. Like they have Insigne, Mertens. They got Manolas at the back. They got Fabian in the midfield. They have a very, very solid team, and yet they're not performing in like Champions League regions. I think they can do a lot better with the squad they have. Daniel?
Yeah, I just want to say what Vihan was saying about Pirlo, however you say it. How I think he'll be a bit like Frank Lampard. I think in maybe 5 years' time, he'll be an amazing manager, one of the top managers. But I think at the moment, he just doesn't have that experience to lead Juventus to anything amazing. I mean, them winning the league is not exactly a great feat by any chance. The other thing I do just want to really quickly look at is Torino. Weren't they last season like pushing for Europa League? And this season they're in the relegation zones or something. Or they were pretty decent last season. And this season they've been really, really bad. Like they're 18th, 2 points away from being out relegation zone. That could be an interesting one there. Yeah, go on, Vihan.
I think with Torino, yes, as you mentioned, they were pushing for the Europa League spot, but their strength last season was in their attack with their striker Andrea Bellotti, and I think because his goals have kind of dried down a little bit, that's why they are not able to like push for Europe this time, and their defense has been considerably worse than it was last season. So I think that's like the primary reason. Go on, Alex.
I think it's time that we move on to our UCL segment, and we've got a slightly different one this time. Not that we've ever done one before, so it can't be much different, but different than how we usually do it, I expect. So we're going to be looking at a couple of predictions. So does anyone have any predictions for the two tonight? Borussia Dortmund versus Sevilla and Juventus versus Porto. Vihan?
I think Dortmund, they have Giovanni Reina and Jadon Sancho missing as well, I think. So I think even though they have them missing, they've still got Erling Haaland up front, even though he had a bit of a knock last game against Bayern. I think Borussia Dortmund will lose. I think they could lose, but I think it'll be 1-1, which means Dortmund will go through an aggregate. Go on, Harry.
The other game, Juventus versus Porto. Porto had a pretty decent result last time, win against Juventus, they're definitely the underdogs, Porto, and to win like that is massive for them. But if you look at Juventus' defence, it was probably defensive mistakes. And if you see the times that Porto scored, they scored immediately in the first half and immediately in the second half, which is kind of disappointing for Juventus. Maybe they just weren't warmed up enough. Do you think they can pull it back in the second leg? Daniel?
I could see Porto maybe just like drawing 0-0 and then going through. I think Juventus just have to win it, so I think they'll just throw everything at it and will just possibly even win like 3-0. And with the Dortmund game, so Dortmund are at home tonight, yes? So that means that they have 3 away goals, because it was 3-2 last game. So I think Sevilla would have to do like very well to go through. I mean, they could, but they'd have to win like 2-0, and I don't think that will happen.
So if we look at tomorrow's games, I believe it's tomorrow. I hope it's tomorrow, because I'd be very embarrassed if I got that wrong. PSG versus Barcelona and Liverpool versus Leipzig. We've already expressed the fact that we think that PSG we know that PSG will be able to retain their lead. But does anyone have any idea on Liverpool versus Leipzig? I mean, Liverpool winning 2-0 away from home in the first leg, but they've been in very poor form, and you do wonder if RB Leipzig can perhaps pull this back. Vihan, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think this is controversial. Sorry to the Liverpool fans out there, but I think Leipzig will go through. I think they'll win. I think like 3-1, and then it'll go to penalties and they'll win. So, but because I think Liverpool have been in such lukewarm form, I think, and Leipzig have won their last 5 games. So I think it'll be Leipzig. And it's time to move on to the transfer rumor section. So, does anyone? So there has been a rumor about Erling Haaland. He's been linked with multiple clubs. So what do you guys think? Which club should he go to? Daniel?
Let's just all agree he's not going to Barcelona. I feel like that could have happened maybe a season ago, or if they were how they were like a season ago. But they just, I mean, did you hear they can't even afford to pay Liverpool if Coutinho plays a bit more? What has happened to Barcelona? But on Haaland, I think there's probably Man United, maybe Chelsea, although Timo Werner is playing quite well now, and then Real Madrid. I think they're the only 3 clubs that could maybe afford him. I don't think he'd go to PSG though. Yeah, Alex?
I disagree with you, Daniel. Not on the Barcelona bit, but I think that Man City will have the biggest chance of buying him. I mean, his dad, I know you probably forgot about them, but his dad played there. They've got lots of money. They need a striker. And Erling Haaland is in red-hot form recently. I think he'll have a big price tag. I'm not sure if some clubs like Chelsea and Man United will be able to afford it. I think he would like to go there because his father played there. I mean, yeah, lots of people say that Manchester City even use oil money. So that's going to be an interesting one. Does anyone else have any other transfer rumours that they'd like to talk about, or any other thoughts on Erling Haaland?
I think that Erling Haaland will actually go to Real Madrid because everyone under the sun is linked to Real Madrid pretty much. Because Real Madrid say they're going to buy everyone and they're not. But I genuinely think this transfer is going to go through. I think Zinedine Zidane, but maybe even if he's sacked, whoever the next manager will be, will make the Galacticos again. I think Real Madrid in 10 years' time will be the best team, one of the best teams the world's ever seen. I think Haaland will be part of that. Vion?
So just before we move on to the FPL segment, Fantasy Premier League segment, I just have one last point. I think regarding Erling Haaland to Man City, I'm not sure if he'll go there just because his father played. And if Sergio Aguero gets sold, then there is a chance. But if Erling Haaland joins, then Gabriel Jesus, who's been pretty good recently, I don't know what will happen with him. So I think either Man City, if Gabriel Jesus scores a few more goals, I think Man City might put that Erling Haaland deal to hold for a bit, and then they'll see if Gabriel Jesus performs and he can be their future striker. So let's move on to the FPL segment now. Go on, Alex.
I think with FPL, it's really interesting how many Aston Villa's and West Ham defenders are doing so well. I mean, you look at like Cresswell, he's got 12 points and he's one of the kings of the game week. So is Dawson. So Dawson grabbed a clean sheet and a goal, and Cresswell grabbed a clean sheet and an assist. And that's really interesting. So we're going to show you our teams now. So this is my team. So you can probably see from it that I've got Martinez in goal, Stones and Diaz still to play another game against Southampton, and Target and Dallas even in defence. Fernandes has been performing very well for me recently, and I think I might take out Salah because he's not doing very well. And I'll probably put in Harry Kane because he's been getting a lot of assists recently. Does anyone else want to talk about their teams? Daniel?
This is kind of off the top of my head because I don't have it with me right now. So I can't seem to log in, but oh well. I have this week 3 Man City defenders. As you can tell, that went well against Man United. But the main reason I had them was just because they're playing two games, so get double the points. If not, then got